How many times have you stopped yourself from moving forward because of feedback? Let's be honest. Someone didn't buy, someone didn't respond, someone gave you a helpful comment that felt like a gut punch. Listen, ladies, feedback is not failure. It's data. And CEOs collect data like it's gold. The truth is, your first client, your first audience, and even your first nose or your research department. If you learn to listen without letting it sting you, you grow faster than most people who stay stuck waiting for validation. Welcome to From Corporate to CEO, hosted by the Power Move Collective. I'm your host, Nandy B, and this is your daily podcast that proves that you don't have to resign in order to rise. Here, ambitious women like yourself learn how to leverage your paycheck, your skills, and your corporate career to launch and grow your own business. And in just 10 minutes every day, I'll share power moves that will turn your 9-to-5 into your greatest investor. Make sure, however, that you hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. With that said, let's get on with today's episode. Hello, ladies, and welcome back to another episode. We are talking this whole week about proof over perfection. This is where we stop waiting to feel ready and we really start building the business that works in the real world. If you've been following along, you know that day one, we defined your MVO, that is your minimum viable offer, the simplest version of your idea or your sample that gets you paid and not just praises. On day number 2, we reframed your first 5 clients as your focus group, not your forever audience. You learned how to observe, how to document, and how to collect feedback. Today, we are getting very real because testing is one thing, but processing what we tested in terms of feedback, that is where the emotional maturity of a CEO is born. This is the moment where we stop being service providers and we start truly being strategists. You are learning what works. You are learning what doesn't. And you're learning what the market is actually telling you without internalizing it as a reflection of your worth. If you take nothing of everything I just said, I really want you to remember this. We are not internalizing any of this feedback as a reflection of our worth. Feedback is about your offer, not your identity. And I'm going to say that slowly because it matters. Feedback is about your offer, not your identity. When you learn to separate the two, you unlock potential growth because you stop taking feedback personally and you start taking it professionally. So today, we are going to unpack the framework I call your 3 CEO rules of feedback. You separate the emotion from information, you ask better questions, and you turn feedback into frameworks. I want you to write this down, and I want you to post them on the wall somewhere in your house and recite them. When you get through really tough interviews, when someone says, I'm not ready to buy yet, because if you can master this skill, you can master the market. Let's get into these frameworks one at a time. Let's talk about the first CEO rules of feedback. This is where we separate the emotion from the information. This is maybe the hardest rule. In corporate America, when your boss gave you feedback on a presentation, it wasn't personal. It was about the deck. It was about the message. It was about the clarity. But as somebody who's in corporate America, I know it hurts. In your business, your offer comes from the heart. And it feels like you are being judged by the person giving you the feedback. But I promise you, you're not. When someone says this wasn't clear or I didn't see the value in it, they're not attacking you. They're describing their experience. Your job as that chief executive is to decode that experience into data. So here is how you reframe it. Emotion will say, they didn't like me. Information will say, my message didn't land. You see the difference? Emotions shuts you down. Information sets you free. The next time you get feedback, take a pause. Don't defend. Don't explain. Don't justify. Just write it down. You know, we should always have our journals, our notebook handy, right? So we can write all of this down. Give yourself 24 hours to process it. Then come back with your CEO brain, not your fear brain. That is how you separate feelings from facts. Now let's talk about the second CEO rules for feedback. Ask better questions. This is a tough one for all of us, I think. Now that you are emotionally grounded, it's time to collect the right data. Most people honestly ask really terrible questions. They say, what did you think? Or did you like it? The problem with that is that these questions are very vague and they invite vague answers. You need actionable feedback. So you need to be asking questions that will allow for those actionable feedback. Because we already trained ourselves to separate our emotions, we should get better at feeling comfortable about asking for that specific feedback. What part of this was most valuable to you? This is a very different question from did you like it? Here's another good question. What felt confusing or unnecessary? This is a scary one because you don't want them to tell you the truth because you might be offended. But we've already trained ourselves to separate emotion from facts. Here is another great question. What would make this experience even better for you? You see, when you ask better questions, you get better direction. And here's a real secret. The more specific your questions, the more strategic your next version becomes. You will start to see the patterns of what people love, of where people got stuck, and what they actually want more of from you. This is what turns your test into repeatable systems. So please, stop being scared of feedback and start being curious because curiosity is the most underrated CEO skill. Now, let's talk about the third CEO rule of feedback. This is where we begin to turn feedback into framework. I love this because this is the part where real chief executives separate themselves from everyone else. They don't just hear the feedback, but they translate it into structure. If people say that your processes were confusing, that is not criticism. That is your roadmap for your next SOP. If people love your coaching example, that is not luck. That's your messaging niche. If somebody tells you that your workshop ran too long, maybe you've just discovered your new 60-minute express version. Do you see what's happening here? You're not reacting. You are refining. You are turning chaos into clarity. And this is exactly what corporate does all of the time. They call it continuous improvement. They take every project debrief and turn it into a checklist, a guide, best practices, and you, my darling, can do the exact same thing. Every time you test, document your feedback and ask yourself what worked well, what broke down, and what will you do differently next time? That is it. You've just created your first business improvement cycle, the CEO style way. So now Let's bring it home. Feedback is not a report card. It's your research. The people who grow the fastest are not the ones who got everything right the first time perfectly. These are the ones who learn the fastest from what went wrong. You can't improve what you refuse to look at. So, from today forward, I want you to make this declaration. I am a woman who learns from data, not drama. That is what shifts you from an employee mindset where feedback feels like judgment to a CEO mindset where feedback becomes strategy. Now, let's talk about your power move of the day. I want you to choose one person from your MVO test, the one you conducted yesterday, and reach out to them for feedback and do it like a CEO. Ask 3 powerful questions to them. The first one, what was most valuable? The second one, what felt confusing? The third one, what would make it even better? Then you would document all of the answers without reacting. You can even record it if you don't want to take notes. Later on this week, when you sit down to refine your offer, I want you to pull out those notes because they will become your blueprint for your next version. Remember, my darling, clarity doesn't come from silence. It comes from you listening. Thank you so much for joining me today on From Corporate to CEO. If you loved what you heard today, please subscribe to the show and visit us at powermovecollective.com. And if you are ready to start taking action, here are 2 great options. You can download our free Safe Start Blueprint. It's on our website and the link is also in the description below. However, if you, my darling, are ready to take action and say goodbye to corporate America for good, join us in the Business Plan Mastermind that is kicking off on January 12th, 2026.